Welcome to Limbo. My name is João, and today I have the pleasure to share my conversation with Irene, Jena, Karthik. Irene and I met on Twitter, and it was kind of one of those relationships where we exchanged some likes and some retweets, etc. And then I asked her if she wanted to be on the podcast, and she said yes. And it was only in preparation for our conversation that I actually did some research on her writing, and I gotta say she writes beautifully. So you should definitely subscribe to her Substack, which is in the description. But that was a big part of what we talked about. So Irene says that she works in the intersections of strategy, systems thinking, art, and writing. And so we talked about the connection between these four, right? Which was great. We also talked about self love and how to be able to accept where you are while moving forward. We talked about light. We talked about relationships and love and what is love. We talked a lot about poetry, nature, and what can nature teach entrepreneurs and business people. We talked about how systems interact with each other, and we talked about her journey as an artist and what does it mean to be an artist. And so I really enjoyed our conversation. I think you're going to enjoy it as well. So please subscribe to our Substack. You're not going to regret it. While you're at it, why not subscribe to my own? The link is also in the description. In the meantime, thank you so much for being there and for following up the podcast. Hopefully, we'll be back with a more consistent release dates. And yeah, without further ado, here's my conversation with Irene, Jena, Karthik. Here we go. Welcome everyone to Limbo. Today I have with me Irene, JK. Irene, thank you so much for being here. How are you?
Thank you so much for inviting me. Zoao, am I pronouncing your name correctly?
Yeah, totally fine. Joao is fine.
Yeah, yeah. So it's a pleasure to be here, and I know we've connected, and glad that we're having this conversation today.
Yeah, me too. So I have a lot of questions about your writing. You're one of my I really really enjoy your writing. I feel like you have very beautiful writing, and the ideas that you share are also beautiful. So I can't wait to dive into that. But for people who don't know you, what's can you give us like an overview of your story so far?
Yes, that's a very interesting question. I often think, how do I introduce myself? And I refer back to Walt Whitman's quote that I contain multitudes. So, who I am a human who kind of originates from India, happens to be in London right now, and I I I refer to myself like the past life, the corporate past life, where I used to work. So that was the past life. But then in the current life, I do a little bit of everything. So I write on Substack, mostly about belonging, identity, transitions. Um, and I'm also an artist. I think I should you know be confident about introducing myself as an artist. I'm an artist. I work with oils, printmaking. Again, in the art journey also, I try to sort of, I'm in the exploration stage of finding my own medium, my own material, and my own language of expression. And apart from that, I also am an independent consultant. Not consultant might not be the a great word, but more of a partner collaborator, where I work with businesses when they're setting up, when they're early in the journey. So when they're building right from ideation to kind of helping them with the strategy and helping them build the operational ecosystem for the business. So that's one part of life. But apart from that, yeah, I mean, I enjoy a lot of different things, right from nature, um, talking to different human beings, getting to understand humans, and a whole lot of other things. I'm sure some things will come up when we are talking about it.
Yeah, of course. So I'll say this, like your website. which is irenejk.com for anyone who wants to check. I love how like literally in the home page you mentioned all of these four areas, right? So strategy, systems thinking, art, and writing. And I feel like coming from a background where I was a musician, I work in corporate training, I'm teaching through the Socratic method. Like I really value when people have like this wide scope of interest and ideas. And I want to like dive into
Sure.
the some of them, but I want to start with something that you said. You just said that you think that it's important for you to present yourself as an artist, to have almost like to have that self confidence. And I wonder, like, can you tell us a little bit about that? Why is it hard for you to present yourself as an artist as well?
Uh, it's a very interesting question. I think part of it, the self doubt or the confidence that probably uh, I want to seek, it comes from the conditioning. We are conditioned that you have to go to school, you have to learn, the ways of. Kind of making art, or that's the whole societal conditioning, that yeah, you have to go to school or have a certificate, or get trained in the structural way, and then you can call yourself as an artist.
Yeah.
But at the same time, it's a contradiction that the art world, or my experience with art, has been quite expansive, and they have been very welcoming. All the mentors that I've spoken to, they have always told me that no, you don't need to go to school. You kind of, as long as you're committed to the practice, you see a language that is developing, and you know that you are here for the art. It's a way of expression, it's your own language that you're developing. You don't have to worry about that. So I sort of, but yeah, then conditioning is so uh, difficult to shrug off, because
Mm.
I come from India, where a lot of my extended friends and family probably think that this is an hobby, because when they speak to me, they think, oh, oh, that's a nice time pass that you're doing. But the way I have gotten to feel about art is that it's almost spiritual for me, to be very honest. It's a way of not only connecting with myself, to connecting to the universe and connecting to the world. So yeah, it's got a special place, and I'm here for um as long as, I don't think art, as along with writing, is two of the areas that are going to stick with me till my last breath. So yeah.
And that makes a lot of sense. You talk about it in one of your essays where you mentioned like this idea of like the idea of the artist being very tied to going into art school and being able to recognize all of these different styles, etc. But yeah, coming from I think that I guess in music it's easier because you have a lot of examples of people that just everyone can grab the guitar and try and write a song, right? Uh, so yeah, I get what you're saying, but at the same time, like seeing art as and I don't know if you agree with this. I would love to hear your thoughts, but a lot of times I see art in as a continuation of something that's within the artist. So it's almost like this is a way to create an output to or a venue to something that's within me, right? And if you do agree with that view, based on your art and in your writing as well, but maybe starting with art, what is it that you're seeking to like expose, let's call it that, or bring
Yeah.
with outside with your art?
Yes. It's very good question, because I have thought about a lot in the recent past, like how, who am I as an artist? What is my language that I want to kind of share with the world? And I have, of course, I by nature, I sort of try to be a little bit introspective, to look at the past. So when I started art, it was I was not an artist. Like I never had that connection. Of course, there was a love for visual. I was into photography, but never imagined myself being in sort of painting, getting into painting or any other mediums. And I started art during the pandemic, and it was like a paint by numbers. just before pandemic. I had got like a paint by numbers, and I enjoyed it. And when the pandemic hit, I was also during that period I was also transitioning. I had arrived in UK in late 2018, and I was still new. So the pandemic was hit. I was in my own transition. So, and there was a lot of identity shifts that were happening because I was working full time. I had a wholesome life there, and I kind of chose to come here. So, and then I felt that that period of art was a lot of self expression. It was quite dark during that first 2 3 years. It was like almost a purging of all the trauma. So that
Things
sort
that need
of
to go.
yes, yes. And but that was the first few years. It was a lot of self. And um, then I sort of now I have started thinking about more of the surroundings that I have. How do I connect to, for example, if I have to, I love trees and I love nature. So I always, some of my art that I've created has a lot of trees or nature, but there's also a very transparent figuration that comes into picture where so that connection between myself and the nature is happening. And I think right now I'm in a stage that there is one part of the art that I make which has to bring joy to people. So I have started thinking about that. So it's been a journey by itself, sort of individuation of my art journey, different stages, different kind of art. But yeah, but
Yeah.
I think I'm
No,
still quite new there. Yeah.
I think that it's great that there's a journey to whatever artistic outputs that we try to have, right? Because I feel like a lot of times, and once again, I think I see that as an advantage when compared with someone who knows all the theory. I remember when I was a musician, like I wanted to write songs, and all of my compositions, this was jazz, these were jazz or classical, something like that, and all of my compositions, I felt like they sounded the same, and not in a good way. I remember talking with with a teacher and telling them, look, I'm following all the rules, and he asked me, well, what's your source of inspiration? What are you trying to say? And for the first time, I realized, oh, okay, so if I want to create something that somehow resonates with myself and with other people, it's not an exercise of um like theory or almost like what is the right chord or what is the right line or whatever. It's just an attempt at um having this feeling come across in a way that I enjoy it, maybe other people do enjoy it. And I love that you're mentioning joy as like one of these recent areas because one of the questions that I had was a couple of years ago you wrote an article called On Little Joys. I don't know if you remember that particular piece, and you said that like back then you were saying that I think that was around 2023, I think. So we're at 2025, and one of the things that you said was that this year I intend to own my inner eye to observe, rejoice, and partake in little things of life. And as a way, and then you go a little bit further, you say to take refuge in the solace of the infinitesimal, I don't know, how to pronounce that word, things that bring awesome joy. And I guess my question is, I had a question prepared, which was how much were you able to go from a place where you're seeing your identity break and you're seeing all of these changes, and you're purging all of that trauma, and how well were you able to go from there to the actual manifestation of this particular intent that you had of seeing joy in little things and just being able to feel that joy in your life?
Oh, yeah, definitely. I mean, if I compare like 2020, 2021, and 2022, those were really difficult years of my life. And from there, I think I've always found my way to connect with joy, and I found joy in the very absolute basic little things. Um, Example would be like yesterday. I was sleeping and my window opens up, and I just love these little birds, and I go and feed them quite regularly. And there was this two little birds who were kind of chirping, and I try to kind of, I can't chirp, but I whistle to kind of communicate with them. And then there's this little robin perching and looking at me. Then I was like, oh, is that the, I go and feed the robins in the park nearby. And I was like, is he looking out for me? So that's my way of kind of finding joy. I mean, that was a little very ordinary moment, but I have, to answer your question, I have. And as we speak, there is something that I'm sort of going, like a sort of big issue that's in the background, but thankfully I have not let the issue cloud over my life. Generally, that would be the past version of me. But yeah, I'm just living in the moment and just finding joy in whatever moments of life I can.
What are some ideas or practices that are allowing you to do that? So you're mentioning that in the past, that thing in the background would probably be something very present, but you're saying that doesn't happen right now. What are some of the things that you're doing that allow you to go through that evolution?
uh, Meditation. I mean, say to sound it's the same answer, but I have been, meditation has really helped me. So I have been meditating for a long time, but I think the last 1 year of practice, especially, has been pretty regular, and it has sort of helped me ground myself a lot. And of course, connecting more with nature. I find uh, it's soothing, and I find the solace when I see watch. I am a huge lover of watching just clouds pass by. So that's a metaphor that I like to say to myself, that whatever it is, it's going to just pass.
Mm,
So, but meditation, movement, and just having sort of a belief in the greater, it can be spirituality, it can be religion, it is to each his own, but for me, it's like the greater, always believe that there's a greater plan, greater good in whatever challenges that life is putting us through. So that helps me sort of anchor myself and remain calm. And of course, it
mm.
is age also. I feel that I'm like well in my mid 40s, and yeah, I feel that the age factor also sort of comes
Plays a
handy.
role. Yeah. Um, so what about age do you think that allows you to deal with these things better? Is just experience, wisdom? What is
Uh,
it?
it is sobering. I mean,
Mm,
because there is the realization that life, at least in my age, I'm at the age where, older relatives have started to kind of leave, depart. So there's this always sort of reverence for the
mm,
life that we have. And for me specifically, because I lost my mom quite early, that reverence has always been with me. So it's like a blessing that she passed on when she left,
mm,
that to really treasure what we have and nurture all that we have. So that gratitude has sort
yeah.
of helped me connect. But
That's
yeah, I mean, yeah, it's nothing over the top or something out of the blue, but yeah, it's just normal life.
yeah. That's no. That's beautiful. Um, Let me ask you a question. What do you think about and I want to go back because I feel like when I go through your reading, or through your writing, sorry, um, I it's like I feel, especially you have a beautiful piece on self-love. And in fact you mention it a lot. You have multiple pieces, but the one specifically that I'm referring to is called Almost Okay. Like that piece really 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 uh like made me reflect. And And I was reading it through it, and I was thinking, I know people that are in the position immediately before they get to a place where they can write this piece. So the people that are like older versions, quote unquote, or more ancient versions of you that maybe are not yet ready to write a piece such as Almost Okay. And I was going through that and I was thinking about there gotta be I want to ask you about what are the things that you wish someone had told you to facilitate that transition between being in a place where maybe you're not at all okay to a place where you're almost okay. But before going to that question, sorry, you mentioned nature as a way to connect and to facilitate this joy and this more this bigger sense of calm, gratitude. What do you think? What is it about nature that kind of allows you to feel that, because it's almost like this universal thing, I would say, where people just go and take a walk in a park or go and enjoy like walking in the beach, something like that, and so it brings this. What do you think uh is it about nature that allows us to feel that way?
Uh, I just love the interconnectedness of nature. Uh, a bird, for example, it just perches itself on a tree. The tree doesn't tell that, okay, you can't perch yourself, or uh, find another tree. That doesn't happen. So there's this invisible collaboration that happens, invisible, sort of shared communion that is happening. Of course, nature also has its own predators, but at the end of the day, it's a cycle that they sort of work very beautifully. Like the river, for example, it flows to the creeks and it ultimately has to, join the sea. So it sort of feels very comforting for me when I see that. And trees, especially, the when you read about the root systems, when you know that in the forest there's this mother tree, the roots kind of nourish the all other trees and they're sharing resources. So um, it sort of really helps. I think I connect it more because somewhere it connects to my own value system. I mean, I come from my parents were, I mean, my mother was a teacher. She was always in that space of giving, and my father was a social worker. His work was working with different communities. So I've sort of been grown up with that, and I feel that we share, I mean, the tree, the nature and me sort of share a common language of how we've grown up, or we exist. So that's my personal sort of reason for connecting with nature.
Yeah, is that interconnecting or interconnectedness, um like is that something that you enjoy in system thinking and that's why you're attracted to it as well? Is there a connection there?
Yeah, systems thinking, I think, in the earlier years of my career, I definitely didn't think that way. I mean, I was just following the rule book, whatever was this thing. But I think it sort of, I integrated system thinking when I left the corporate world, because the corporate world is so rigid in terms of the
Mm,
boundaries. There's a lot of innovation, yes, but there's also a lot of constraints. And so when I kind of went my own way and I wanted to work with businesses who kind of also understand my what I bring to the table and my value
mm,
system. So that's when, because systems thinking is there, and of course there are different versions of system thinking that you can apply, but business also has to be in the same mindset or in the value system where they want to adopt. So
mm,
that's when I kind of got into it. And of course, I read a lot about trees and the fungi, the mushrooms, and all. And I really feel that there's so much that we need to uh, learn and integrate into the business world also. Even seasons, for example, uh, we are not. I mean, as humans, we are not optimized for being highly productive during winter. But in a corporate world, each day is the same
Yeah.
sort of mill that kind of runs. So yeah, so I think how do we kind of bring some of the best lessons from nature into our world? Yeah.
Yeah. You mentioned like reading a lot about it. Is there like, if you had to say, because I'm interested in that, like, what would be one or two books that you think I should read about, specifically about nature in systems?
Systems is there is the designing systems, the famous book
Yeah.
that is there. I forget to it is written by, I'll share the names
Yeah.
with
Yeah.
you.
Mm-hmm.
Then there is about nature. There is braided sweetgrass,
Okay.
Robin Wall Kimmerer, uh, and of course, there's a lot of poetry that you should read by Mary Oliver. And yeah, sorry, I'm going off on a tangent, but
No.
somehow John O'Donoghue came into my mind. Uh, he's a poet, and he talks about the Celtic, version of uh, sort of spirituality, but also he talks a lot about connecting with nature. And so yeah, but there's so many books. There's so
Yeah.
many books. I mean,
Uh,
I try. Sorry, go ahead.
no, no, go ahead. Go ahead. Go ahead, please.
No, no, no. No, I said I off late I have been trying to sort of step away from reading a lot, because sometimes it can be just a lot of information, and then you can kind of are oversaturated and you really are not able to use that information. So I've taken a sort of a small break from reading. And I mean, yeah, I do, of course, you can't escape reading. I mean, I do lightweighted reading, or I kind of I'm a huge fan of Arena. I don't know if you've heard of it. It's uh it's a beautiful place where it's a research, and you kind of save your own research sort of channel, where but it also operates on this interconnectedness sharing. So you kind of so I spend a lot of time there rather than Twitter, where you are able to see people's own channels, what they have saved, from books to art to bigger things, bigger issues. So people have a beautiful curation. It's like a curation of their mind. And there's no conversation, active conversation, but you can, if you like something, you can connect. And I just absolutely love it there. I find it really very, very nice space. That's that sort of breathes on its own.
Yeah. It's true. I haven't heard of it. I'll check it out after the podcast. You just going to your main ideas of systems, and your thoughts around systems and how you connect that with the businesses that you help. Um, you mentioned like the idea of seasons, in integrating like the idea of seasons into businesses. Other than that, what are other like one or two ideas that you usually share with businesses as a way for them to allow this feeling of emergence and flow to arrive?
Uh, so I always go, or I try to understand what is it that they're trying to solve, because a lot of times businesses come with a very, you know, sort of vague idea without thinking on what is it solving? Is it going to be a relevant problem in 10 years from now? And the most important part is the people, because even before the idea or everything, do they have the right people with the right skill set? I feel skill set, yeah, you can kind of hire, but the mindset, do you have the right sort of mindset, especially when you're building businesses? Because I work with mostly young companies, or even established organization who have spun off and are kind of building something new. And I tell them it's a opportunity to kind of rethink and not bring the old energy from the old organization. So I feel people make a huge difference. It's like having the right sort of people, ensuring it's a relationship, it's a coating in a way. The initial few weeks, when you are sort of in the idea stage and you also have a team with you, you are coaching each other, you are seeing, can you work well with each other, how do you handle challenges, um, what is there room for questions, because is there room for conflicts, because a lot of it comes when you are kind of building businesses, and if you get all yes, yeah, yes, yes, sort of people, then you will sort of ultimately you will kind of run into a situation where this everybody has said yes, nobody has said no, and you don't you fail to kind of figure out, or you've missed some big gap that exists. So I feel that, to answer your question, people and ensuring that you are asking the right questions is so, so important.
Great, thank you. I yeah, I want to go back to the piece that I was mentioning, and leaving the business aside for a bit.
Yeah.
Uh, so as I was saying, I feel like there's a lot of people that I know that were in a position where they are in a position where they're not feeling that good. Um, and one of the things that I really enjoy about the your piece, Almost Okay, is that you don't position yourself as someone who has solved it, and it's like you're like somehow ascendant to a higher plane. It's just this attempt at, like, this is what I've done, this is what I've worked for me. So I guess that if you were talking with someone that's maybe in the same situation as you were, or in a similar situation where you feel like maybe self-love isn't there, maybe they're doubting about their future, they lack a little bit of hope, what would what would you say to them?
So there is this poem that I would love to share with people as a first step. It's a poem by Hafiz. He's a Sufi poet, and it says, I wish that I could show you when you are lonely or in darkness the astonishing light of your own being. So a lot of times we, at least my journey realization was that I was always looking for light from probably others, from parents, or from friends, or from validation from, okay, will I be liked, or will my work sort of hold water. There was always that there's always this conflict, or there is something innate, of course, you know not being okay also. I'm no therapist or no coach, but it has a lot of roots that comes from your
Past.
upbringing, your
Yeah.
childhood, and all that. But apart from that, just for a moment, if one can just sit and just imagine that they themselves also have a lot of light, uh, that is the first step. Acknowledging that the solution is within them first, of course, and then sort of working towards the other solutions. But I think my journey has been that, to accept me as myself without all the desires and longings that probably I as a human have. uh, that was what sort of got me to a almost okay stage. And I try to talk to myself. It's a very it's a habit. I keep talking to myself, saying that, okay, if something is not working out, I kind of have a loud conversation with myself, sort of, kind of talking about the problem, talking about the pros, cons, what I'm feeling. So somewhere I've sort of, uh, in a very weird way, it helps. But It is for people who are going through different stages of life, uh, kind of come with different solutions. I feel that the first and the most important part is just knowing that you have the light within you. But that doesn't come easy, because when one is in darkness, you sort of more darkness is perpetuated. And a very some examples that I can share is that when you're sad, you want to read about, you come across this.
Sad.
Now we are in this quote universe where the short form of quotes or books just flow in. And I was thinking the other day, how did we get to a stage where you know we have become a consumer of short form without even knowing or having an interest or curiosity to understand what was the context with which this quote was shared, or what was the author thinking. Because sometimes, and this is something that I realized when I was going through my dark sad phases, that I just felt validated, that okay, this quote sort of, I'm feeling that way, and this quote sort of kind of validates my feeling without doing the inquiry. Okay, why was I feeling that way? So a lot of self inquiry is also needed, but for that I think you also need to ensure that your conditions are optimal. uh, just Yeah, because once you get into the not okay rabbit hole or all these this fillers, it can be songs are good, but quotes and all. And I also go and read in, I have this habit of spending time in YouTube comments. It's one of the best places. So a lot of times, while the negative quotes are not negative, I wouldn't say negative, but the quotes that are quite dense or heavy, sort of probably they latch on to you. They latch on to you, and they kind of get you into. So if you are at a sort of a phase where you are feeling, let's say, from a 0 to 10 scale, you are at like 1 or 2, and you read this something dense, it keeps you at that 1 or 2. It doesn't take you to higher better energy where you can think rationally. It
Mm.
keeps you at that, or maybe sometimes sends you to over 0.
To zero.
So
Yeah.
yeah, yeah, because you are feeling that okay, there's somebody who's there, who's written something, and you are going through that, and you tend to kind of think about it and not come out of it. So that is the only thing. Otherwise, I consume a lot of quotes and a lot of uh, I was in my Sylvia Plath phase also, where I read a lot of her journals, and now I can think and reflect and share that. But at that point, she was like, oh, I could really, I felt that she and me sort of shared some sort of common, uh, yeah, common bond from beyond. So,
Yeah.
but it was it was the face, the brains, there's so much of physical aspect also there when you're going through something. But yeah, um,
Yeah.
just don't just ensure that you find the light of your own being, and find the light or hope as per your own, because each person has something different. For me, it can be going and walking or hugging a tree. Somebody else can be probably listening to some good music or watch a great movie. It can be different. So but yeah, just try to sort of get out of that that moment, which can, you are near the abyss, and you can just one step and you get into the abyss, or you just walk and you see that okay, there's a sunrise happening there.
Yeah. No, that's a beautiful answer, and I feel like the reason why I enjoyed your piece so much was because I feel like one of the things that you're trying to or at least to me, one of the things that I took from your piece is this idea of, okay, well, if you're in this place, more than, like as you were saying, like more than finding light on each other, you need to find light on yourself. And here I feel like light and love are very similar, in a way that, a lot of times you're in this position, and where you are at a one and a two. And by the way, I feel like on a scale from 0 to 10, the worst place to be is probably 4 or 5, because it's like when you're at 1 and 2, it's like you're very, very bad. But the moment that you get some kind of light, like you know that you can move upwards. But in that 4 or 5, it's like, okay, I'm not bad enough where I was. Like I'm not a 1 or a 2, but at the same time I'm dissatisfied with my life. But still, like the answer to, I would say, all of the numbers except maybe 10 is I would argue love. And you have a beautiful quote. I know I'm just throwing quotes after what you said, but it's true. You write, we are carriers of confusion, and yet in this haze love still offers a lamp. And I just found that beautiful.
Yes, we've come to the main, you know, the most important part of the discussion, love. Yeah, I I have, I mean, I feel it personally for me, love is sort of my root system. Love is the root system. As there was this podcast that I was listening to between Tara Brach and Jack Confield, and where this phrase came that love is a root system. So for me, love has always been the root system, and I feel that if we are if we have enough love within ourselves, we are able to share that love with others, and that's how we heal. Of course, I talked about finding the light within ourselves, but also a part of healing is finding the light in others, or during those periods where others are able to lend the light to you. So, and that happens through love. Um, and yeah, I feel that one is that, of course, self love, and also when you have love in terms of your family, friends, uh, it radiates. You know,
Mm,
it's like James Baldwin's saying that we are here to kind of sort of shed light on each other, and that's the
mm,
whole um part of evolving and flourishing. And Bell Hooks also writes a lot about love, which I've sort of captured in one of my paintings. But yeah, I feel that love is sort of a very important part of my own value system, and it helps me uh, not to be bitter about things. Sort of uh, allow space. So all the things that I was talking about, yeah, yeah, I had difficult days or difficult friendships that went berserk, but I always return back to love, saying that okay, it's easy for me to forgive, it's easier for me to connect to the world, because there's always hope that, yeah, love is always the answer for me.
mm.
uh, and I find that it's not only in personal life, or find the community or the world, but also work. Because if you really put in, if you are in a good state of mind, and if you are like you feel that connection, that love also comes through in the work that you're doing, because you always want to do the best work for things that you really love enjoying. So that's what I think. And yeah,
Yeah,
love is very important part of human connection. We wouldn't have survived.
absolutely. Of course. How would you define it?
uh, so how do you define it? It's a tricky question. It's I don't know how would I define it. I mean, love is just being. It's just being. It's just existing for me personally. um yeah, But if I were to talk about from a relationships perspective, I I have come earlier, when I was younger, probably my version of love was like, very different. But now I feel that it is the most ordinary things. It is um, like when me and my husband, when we are talking or joking, or we are just sharing a cup of coffee, we are having conversation. That's love for me. And or the friends that I have, or when I just randomly I just connect, and we're talking about just general stuff. So that's love in play. I mean, love is the everyday connection. It's in the everyday things. It's not that you wait for one day and you kind of express it. It's becoming together, becoming better versions together. And it's a journey that we all take with each other. As
Yeah.
Ramdas says, we all are walking each other home, and if we can walk each other home with love, then nothing like it. The journey is going to be much more easier.
Yeah. I love the definition of love being just being, and the love in a relationship context being still being just being, but with other beings, right? Um, and it's interesting because I do agree with you. I feel like a lot of times in relationships, people think that are these crazy gestures that will allow you to feel like loved or something like that. And it's interesting. I was recently talking about this with my girlfriend. And and it was this. It's such a small thing. I went to bed. I usually go to bed earlier, and I looked at my AirPods case, and it was running out of battery, and I thought, well, I'll charge it in the morning. And when I woke up, I couldn't find the case, the AirPods case. I was like, oh, okay, well, never mind. I'll find it afterwards. Probably was asleep. And I go out of the room. I go into the living room, and there it is. Like it's charging, and I felt so loved in that moment because it's like because part of it, I would say, when it comes to love, being being you, like part of it is being seen as well. And I feel like a big thing. This is what I was saying, that a love and light share a lot of it, because light is what allows you to see. And I feel like a lot of times, like self love is just a way for you to see yourself in with better eyes. And so to feel seen, I would say, is also like a great way to feel loved and to feel love, right? Yeah. Uh,
Yeah.
Quinn, let me ask you just one more question about love, and then I want to move on to another thing. Um, what would you say are some of the, like you're mentioning like love as being like your root system, which I absolutely love. Um, it implies that if love is root for something, what do you think that something is? Like, what's the tree that comes out of the roots of love?
uh it is, of course, the tree has to be the giver, in the sense like, how how do I leave um from this world, you know so yeah, this root system enables me to be myself and to be a better version of myself, so that I can be there for others, and others how they need, because my version of being for others may not be their version of how they need me. So
Mm-hmm.
for me to be able to be there for others, and yeah, how do I go away from this world, leaving some of the love behind, in the sense, how does it continue, like, uh, I think about this, that if there is something that people should remember me for, it should be that the interaction. I'm not saying it has to be, they should have they should have felt seen, as you said, very, very important, because I feel that love enables you to see, because it's so important for and that's there's a beautiful quote which I'm not able to sort of recollect, but it talks about the seen and the unseen. And so it is, how do I'm able to kind of be there and for others. So it's more of a, it's like the tree. I go back to the tree. The tree is there, it is existing. It goes through its own seasons of becoming, but at the same time it is a refuge for the leaves, the wildlife. So in my case, how can I be, how does my root system enable me to be a safe space for not only my family and friends, but generally in more of every interaction or conversation that I have going across the world. But yeah.
Mm. Do you know Simon Holler?
Simon.
From Twitter, and I think he's part of
Mm-hmm.
Internet like as well.
Okay.
I'll send you my podcast with him because he
Sure.
says that there's one the defining metaphor of his life is that he's a tree, and I feel and he wrote about it, and I feel like you two would connect on that in a very interesting way. Uh, Erin, I want to ask you one last question,
Sure.
or at least explore one last topic, which
Sure.
is poetry.
Yeah.
I had a friend who told me that, and this is a great segue because I had a friend that told me, and I'm not sure if this is a quote by anyone or anything, but he said that um, poetry is the language of love. Um, and there's no other writing style or way of articulating words or writing words that is able to um, showcase love as poetry. And I would love to understand, why is it that poetry is so important to you?
Uh, yeah. So poetry, um, I was always a very shy child, and even now I think I am not shy, but yeah, I'm probably a introvert in many ways, and poetry sort of gave me that. It embraced me, and I've loved poetry since my school days, and and then I sort of got then there was a period of brief separation with poetry during my 20s, and then 30s again poetry sort of found a way to come back into my life. And yeah, i felt I feel that it's a space. um Maybe it is because of the fact that sometimes I might struggle to sort of express exactly what I'm, because I think so much, but when it comes to kind of expressing, probably I might not be suited to express it like exactly the way I'm thinking. And sometimes poetry has given me that space to connect. Sometimes poetry, it has held me during difficult times, and just reading, like the poem that I shared from her face. I had it on stuck on my mirror, during my difficult phases. It's a very short poetry, and it gave me a lot of source of strength, a lot of um, it's like a friend that you don't know you have until unless you really engage or spend time with poetry, and then you see how you sort of become friends. And all these poets sort of, they have, and the poems that of course they have written is so amazing. There's so many beautiful poets. um and I always have found connection with the words, either during a phase of life that I've been going through, or generally when I read poetry, it just fills me with so much hope and so much of sort of poetry has seen me. I mean, in the
Mm,
poems sort of see me. So that is what I my connection started from there. And there was a period when I used to write really. Now when I read my poems, I laugh at it. But yeah, there was a period when I sort of used to write poems. I still do few lines here and there, but not serious. I think art is a better way for me to express.
mm,
But yeah, poetry is like sort of the language of the soul in many ways. Um, and but yeah, I also do understand not everybody connects with poetry, because my husband, he just he's quite the exact opposite of me, and he doesn't connect. But I think he because we are talking about love, and now we are talking about poetry, uh, he sort of makes space, and he ensures, while he doesn't enjoy, but he ensures that every poem I have sent him, he will take time to read and then kind of comment, which is again an act of love. So yeah, so poetry is very, very special for me in my life. And there are so many poets that I love. Mary Oliver, Jane Hirschfield, um, Rilke, of course. This classic, so many poems. Emily Dickinson, Virginia Woolf, and then there's John O'Donoghue, which is very interesting. I should share this. I don't know if it is some sort of synchronicity, or poetic synchronicity, but for the last 1 year, whenever I have been in some sort of very deep thinking, or a conflict, or some sort of sticky phase, very surprisingly, I have found myself um, seeing a John O'Donoghue, either a passage or a poem, just during that period, and I have been documenting it. Which
oh,
is like, I feel that I joke about it, that he's somebody that he's connected to me from the beyond.
yeah. Just
So
slowly drawing you poems and or parts of it that allow you to unstick
uh,
yourself.
yes, yes, and it is a very freaky coincidence. So
Yeah.
it's happened like 7, 8 times, and
Wow.
yeah, yeah, it's like very it feels very surreal. While I believe in a lot of the whole unseen, but I'm also try to find the logic and science behind it.
Hmm.
Uh, but yeah, some things I believe you don't know what they are. But coming back
Yeah.
to poetry, yeah, it's the space that has embraced me as I am, and I have found solace in its words. Um, and yeah, I've met amazing people through interintellect also during poetry readings. Um, and yeah, but
Yeah.
the beautiful part of poetry is that I think you should try, if you uh, read poetry, is that try reading one poem at different uh, phases of your life, and you see how the
Mm.
poems interaction with you, or your interaction with the poem sort of changes.
Changes. Mm.
Yeah, yeah,
That's beautiful. Irene, I want to be respectful of your time.
yeah, sure.
I really enjoyed our conversation. Let me ask you one last question. If people want to connect with you, if people want to reach out to you for a business inquiry or something like that, what's the best place that they can do? So,
uh Best place is my email ID, which I can share with you. It's irenejenakarthik@gmail.com. But I am almost available on LinkedIn, on Twitter, and of course, there's the Substack also. But yeah, just not business inquiry. I think if I can use your platform to kind of share, is that while I can't solve any problem, but yeah, if you ever need somebody to just hear you out without any judgment, and just you just want to vent or just want to share, um, and if there's something I can help, I'll definitely try to help. But yeah, if you just want somebody to lend you a ear, happy to do that. And I've met lovely people like this, and I've sort of made nice connections. But yeah, that is the only thing. But yeah, the other
Beautiful.
things, I'm sure you can share the link.
Of course, I'll share the links of for all of those. Irene, thank you so much for being in Limbo. It was wonderful. I really enjoy your writing. I encourage everyone to go and like subscribe to your Substack, follow your social media. You write very beautifully and you speak very beautifully. It was a pleasure, and I hope to see you soon. Thank you to everyone
Thank you.
listening.
Thank you so much.
You're welcome, Irene. To everyone listening, please go follow Irene and make sure that you also follow the podcast. Maybe leave a live and subscribe, a like and subscribe to our YouTube channel. I will see you all in the next episode. Bye bye, everyone.